Building a roller coaster takes a ton of skill, attention to detail, and talented engineers. A lot of work goes into making each one, from the kiddie coasters to the extreme ones. Unfortunately, like most engineering projects, some just don't work out. As awesome as roller coasters can be, they can also be pretty terrible, offering rough and painful rides instead of entertainment. Recently, I decided to do a video on the worst coasters in the world after reading a Mitch Hawker roller coaster poll from 2013. While I personally haven't been on every single coaster on the list, I decided to conduct a few polls with my fans who have ridden them. So as voted on by the fans, here are the 10 worst roller coasters in the world. Just a quick disclaimer though, I mean no disrespect to any coaster manufacturer or ride engineer that's worked on these attractions. This video mixes comedic hyperbole with honest opinions. So without further ado, enjoy. Number 10. Pirates Hideaway at New Jersey's Casino Pier, made by American manufacturer Wisdom Rides. Its colorful ride building and detailed pirate ship trains may seem appealing at first, but don't be fooled. This coaster will pillage and plunder your vertebrae and leave you begging for less. This ride is often referred to as the worst family coaster in history by enthusiasts, and one ride on it makes it easy to see why. Though it does have an interesting backstory. After the removal of the park's semi-enclosed coaster Wizard's Cavern, American manufacturer Wisdom Rides was hired to build a replacement. This manufacturer is mostly known for its Dragon Wagon and Minor Mike coasters. Nevertheless, Casino Pier officials hired the company to build a custom-designed coaster to mimic Wizard's Cavern. The result was a painfully rough attempt to redesign the original layout. Starting off with a spiral lift, the ride doesn't seem that bad at first, but then you get to the enclosed section. Despite its vibrant appearance on the outside, the inside of the ride building contains zero theming, and it's pretty much just an unappealing metal box sitting on the pier. And as if that weren't bad enough, the dips and turns slam you into the sides of the vehicle, making the coaster needlessly aggressive for something intended for families. Every turn is a hard jerk, and every dip is a rough slam. It's pretty much the equivalent of being locked inside a pirate ship's bathroom in the middle of a hurricane. By the time the ride is over, seasickness is pretty much guaranteed. Number 9. Goodeliks at France's Parc Asterix, made by Dutch manufacturer Vekoma. This time we're heading to France for a truly disastrous Vekoma coaster. While the manufacturer has been wildly acclaimed for its more recent projects, it still has its fair share of early day clunkers out there. Perhaps the most prominent example is Goodeliks, a name based on the French phrase meaning the taste of danger in English. This is a custom variation of their MK1200 model, which was the first one ever designed by the company. Opening in 1989, this was one of Parc Asterix's opening day attractions. This lakeside coaster has an initial visual appeal, drawing riders in with its many waterfront inversions. It is also one of only 2 roller coasters on Earth to feature a butterfly element, the other one being on Blue Hawk at Six Flags Over Georgia. There's no doubt that unaware thrill seekers took one look at this ride and bolted for the entrance, hoping for a fun experience. Unfortunately, this coaster has garnered a reputation over the years as an insanely rough ride. The abundance of painful inversions, paired with the bumpy track and hard over-the-shoulder restraints, have led many to label Goodeliks as the coaster equivalent of a cocktail shaker. A 2012 poll by veteran enthusiast Mitch Hawker even labeled it as the worst coaster on Earth. Despite all of this, the park has made numerous attempts to improve the ride, such as giving it new trains and a complete retracking in 2013. Nowadays, the ride is considered to be slightly better than before, but still painful enough to make the list. Number 8. The Zyklon ZL42 model, made by Italian manufacturer Pinfari. Well known for their wacky worms and Zyklons, defunct manufacturer Pinfari was once a kingpin of the amusement industry. In the 1970s, they really made a name for themselves bringing compact, thrilling coasters to small parks on a budget. Their Zyklon model became especially popular for its surprisingly thrilling drops, but their coasters haven't exactly aged well. Nowadays, Pinfari coasters are infamous for how punishingly rough they can be, and the Zyklons are seen as outdated in today's coaster market. However, the pain of the standard Zyklon model can't compare to the one with a vertical loop. Introduced in the 1980s, this model was also initially popular. It not only had a small footprint, but also managed to pack in an appealing vertical loop, which really drew passengers to ride it. However, this model has aged even worse. Its track is consistently bumpy with no remorse, and its over-the-shoulder restraints pave the way for some unforgiving headbanging throughout the layout. At least some of the standard Zyklons have lap bars, but this one just surrounds you in a compact round of steel torment. If you want a good vintage looping coaster, stick to the Schwarzkopf rides. Or is that Schwarzkopf? I'm not sure, I apologize if I mispronounced that. Anyway, number 7, Tornado at Scotland's M&D's theme park, made by Italian manufacturer Pinfari. Yet another Pinfari creation was this large-scale looping coaster in Scotland. This one is much more intense than the looping Cyclone, and far, far worse. Passengers strap in with thick over-the-shoulder restraints and brace themselves for a truly terrible experience. Consisting of 2 loops and several bank turns, this coaster's layout wastes no time in treating its riders like rocks in a blender. The faster the ride goes, the more it will smash your head against the restraints. Interestingly enough, the ride used to be even worse when its layout featured a corkscrew. As I've discussed before, this corkscrew was perhaps the most infamous inversion in history, metaphorically shattering the heads of anyone who experienced it. Still though, even without the corkscrew, the ride is still considered to be a total train wreck. When they named this ride Tornado, they certainly got it mixed up. Based on how much it shakes, they should have called it Earthquake instead. Unfortunately, this is the tallest and fastest coaster in all of Scotland, and they really deserve better than this. On the bright side, the locals still managed to have fun with this coaster despite its flaws. Viewer Dr. Bag PhD says, "I love our Mad Wee theme park and its rickety coaster. Last rode it in April this year and it's as bone-shakingly rough as ever, smiley face." Viewer Squirtle Jack says, "It's a really good ride if you just keep your head back and stick to the middle few cartridges. Your ears may get hurt, but it's worth it." And finally, viewer Goddad Zip says, "I go on that ride a lot and I think it is a good ride, but when you come off, you get lots of bruises." Plus, Real Radio once held a public event where riders were challenged to eat lunch on the coaster. The results were exactly as messy as you'd expect them to be. It just goes to show that even when a coaster is a lemon, some riders can still make lemonade out of it. Number 6, the Corkscrew model, made by American manufacturer Aerodynamics. This coaster is certainly the most historically significant one to make the list. In 1975, Knott's Berry Farm introduced the first ever Aerodynamics Corkscrew model. It was named, well, Corkscrew, and it was the first coaster to have an inversion since the experimental coasters of the early 1900s. It became a massive hit for the park, and paved the way for the many amazing coasters there today. The Corkscrew itself has also become one of the most iconic inversions in history. Aero would go on to install 14 of these coasters around the world, with 10 still in operation to this day. Despite their historical importance though, these coasters didn't age well at all. There's a big difference between vintage and outdated. With the layout consisting of a single drop and 2 corkscrews, the ride experience pales in comparison to today's coasters, and even some of Aero's custom loopers hold up better today than their corkscrews. Not to mention how the ride's inversions thrash your head around like a rag doll. To sum up Aero's corkscrews, they may be over quickly, but their unsatisfying short layouts and memorably rough ride experiences sadly makes them worthy of their unsavory reputation. Number 5, Ninja at Missouri's Six Flags St. Louis, made by American manufacturer Aerodynamics and Dutch manufacturer Vekoma. If you've ever wanted to be assaulted by an actual ninja, chances are you'll enjoy this coaster. This ride started out in 1985 as a project by Aerodynamics for Expo 86, the World's Fair held in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. There it was known as Scream Machine, not to be confused with the Great American Scream Machine. However, during the ride's construction, Aero fell into bankruptcy for the first time. The project was then sold off to Vekoma, who proceeded to complete it for the fair. After the fair ended, it was eventually moved to Six Flags St. Louis for the 1989 season. There it gained an unwanted reputation as one of the most painful creations in roller coaster history, playing pinball with its riders' heads on those horrendously hard restraints. The ride is so bad that even Logan Joyner of Coaster Kids fame refused to ride it during his visit, saying, quote, "A lot of people want credits at all costs, but if I know it's gonna give me a headache for the rest of the day, I won't ride it. I don't care about credits that much." And as if that weren't bad enough, park officials made the baffling decision to introduce VR to the coaster in 2016. Needless to say, the experience was about as well received as an Adam Sandler Netflix movie. The headsets wouldn't stay on, and it was extremely hard to enjoy the interactive ride experience when your head was being smashed side to side. Considering its poor reception from riders, it's a wonder why they keep this coaster around, but maybe they'll fix it up in the future. Number 4. Green Lantern First Flight at California's Six Flags Magic Mountain, made by Swiss manufacturer Intamin. Now I know what you're thinking. Intamin made rides like Maverick and Millennium Force. How could they possibly have made a bad one? Well, according to the viewers, they did, and it's at the one and only Six Flags Magic Mountain. First opening in 2011, this coaster was meant to promote the disastrous and long-forgotten Green Lantern movie starring Ryan Reynolds. I'm sure Deadpool would find this ride's failure very funny. This model, known as a Zaxpin, seats riders on both sides of the track in seats that rotate a full 360 degrees forwards and backwards. The rotation is completely random, meaning that each ride will be different from the last. While there are vastly superior Zaxpins in Europe, Green Lantern specifically is said to have many flaws that riders consider to kill the ride experience. First of all, the rotations are harsh and erratic, tossing riders into their restraints and chairs with each flip. Even worse, the bottom of the ride's drops will slam riders downwards. If you're in a sit-down position, your pelvis will fall flat into your badly padded seat. If you're upside down or face down, your shoulders will fall into the restraints, and if you're lying down, your back and head will smash into the back of your seat with full force. There are so many different ways to experience pain that it's no wonder why this coaster is so widely reviled. Say what you want about how frequent the SNS free spins are in the Six Flags chain, but at least those don't have a reputation for pain like Green Lantern does. Six Flags hasn't purchased a new Intamin coaster since this one. Moreover, as of right now, it's currently closed for unknown reasons, and it's unknown when it will reopen. Maybe by then the ride will be more tolerable. Number 3. The Volare model, made by Italian manufacturer Zamperla. Ever wonder what it's like to be a lab rat in an earthquake? Zamperla has you covered. The Volare is named after the Italian phrase meaning to fly, and what a wreck this turned out to be. First opening at Colorado's Ilitch Gardens in 2002, this coaster was likely designed as a cost-effective alternative to other flying coasters on the market. The goal of a flying coaster is to seat riders face down, offering them a simulated flying experience. As a selling point, the Volare boasts an unobstructed view for its riders, with only one row per ride vehicle. However, as unobstructed as the view is from the front, the discomfort of the ride experience completely takes away from said view. Riders start off in the station, where they are awkwardly seated in claustrophobic plastic and metal cages. After a spiral lift, they then traverse the course. As they do so, the unmistakable rattle of the vehicles on the track makes the ride feel disturbingly unstable, all while the riders' heads are being smashed side to side on the inconveniently placed padding. This ride has received a widely negative reception from enthusiasts, and it's hard to recommend even for the biggest gluttons for punishment. Shockingly enough, the ride was designed by famous coaster designer Werner Stengel, the designer of rides like Maverick at Cedar Point. As such, the Volare is proof that nobody's perfect, and even the most accomplished individuals are capable of a few mistakes. But there's no way around it, this ride sucks. Number 2. The Big Apple Coaster at Nevada's New York Hotel, made by Japanese manufacturer Togo. Las Vegas is known for its many high-class entertainment venues and tourist attractions. The Circus and Stratosphere amusement parks in particular are especially appealing for thrill seekers. However, one Vegas coaster in particular has the phrase "stay away" written all over it, and that coaster is the one at the New York Hotel and Casino. Sitting on top of a shopping plaza, this coaster is surrounded by colorful New York City theming and the undeniable appeal of the Vegas Strip. However, those are pretty much the only nice things enthusiasts have to say about this coaster. Back in 1997, this ride, then known as Manhattan Express, opened with the hotel. It was designed by Togo International, a Japanese manufacturer with a rough reputation in America. While their Japanese coasters are widely considered to be enjoyable, their infamous American installations include the defunct Shockwave at King's Dominion. The Big Apple is the only Togo roller coaster still operating in America, and one ride on it makes it easy to see why. Not only does it have insanely rough transitions, but the overdosage of headbanging is impossible to ignore. It's just a painful, migraine-inducing ride overall. Even worse, the ride is a relatively long coaster, with a total track length of almost 5,000 feet, so that gives passengers even more time to endure the torture. And not only is this coaster infamously bad, but it comes with a price. In order to ride this coaster, it will cost you $15 up front, with an additional $8 if you want to re-ride it. Oh, and there's also virtual reality on it for some reason. In all honesty, you're better off saving your money for the Stratosphere. Before we get to the number 1 spot, here are a few quick honorable mentions. attractions. First is the Vekoma Boomerang. This coaster just missed qualifying for the video, and to be fair, I've ridden some pretty decent ones. Nevertheless, they're still insanely common, and they're really nothing to write home about. As a credit seeker myself, I can't even count how many of them I've ridden, and I've pretty much grown numb to these coasters. Next up is Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Despite how well this did in the poll, I was genuinely surprised at how many people are fans of this ride. Plenty of viewers have come out in defense of this coaster, saying it's really not as bad as it seems and just needs a bit of touching up. Plus, it's the only Aero Mega Looper left in operation after the closure of New Jersey's Great American Scream Machine in 2010. So for this list, I decided to give Viper a break. Finally is Thriller at Turkey's Happy Land. This one just missed the list too, likely because not many of the voters have been to Turkey. Nevertheless, as a Pinfari RC50, I have heard nothing but bad things about this coaster. It may not invert, but it's still unimaginably rough. I mean, it's made by Pinfari, what do you expect? Finally, with over 300 votes, the quote-unquote winner is the Vekoma SLC. Again, Vekoma is doing very well these days with their innovative roller coasters, but the infamy of the SLC is simply too big to ignore. These coasters are widely referred to as hang-and bangs in the enthusiast community, a nickname that honestly goes hand in hand with these coasters. This common coaster model dates all the way back to 1994, when the original prototype named El Condor was installed at Walibi Holland. Its low price tag and numerous inversions made it especially appealing to smaller parks wanting an extreme level thrill coaster. After all, it's much less expensive to buy a ride with a pre-existing layout than a completely custom one. As a result, over 40 of these rides have been installed around the world. These coasters are notorious for giving astonishingly rough rides, and despite their relatively small footprints, they still manage to pack plenty of cranium-smacking elements into their layouts. Perhaps the most criticized aspect of this coaster is the restraint system. Although some SLCs have been updated with less restrictive vest restraints, most of them still have the old, awkward, and bulky restraints. You feel like you're being smashed to pieces like a rock star's guitar. The elements are so brutal that you're likely to come off with your ears throbbing. Me personally, I'd have to say that Mind Eraser at Maryland Six Flags America takes the cake when it comes to giving an unreasonably horrific ride experience. This thing sucked, and many of my viewers consider it to be the worst SLC out there. Now, if I were to make a suggestion, I'd say it should be moved to Motion Gate Dubai's Lionsgate section. There it should be renamed and rethemed to Norm of the North. Now that would be a fitting retheme. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.